And we're live. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining day 27 of our 31 days parenting challenge. All right. So, thank you for joining me today. Are you here? Can you hear me? Can you see me? So, today we're taking on another challenge, right? Today's challenge is on fear. What is your child's biggest fear? That is what we're talking about. What is your child's biggest fear? All right. Now we know that fears are a natural part of growing up, right? Fear is very natural because it reflects the developmental stages and changing understanding of the world that our children and our teenagers will experience or already experience. So our children and teenagers will always have this fear. Even as adults, these fears are inevitable. So today we are going to look at different aspects of fear. And why are we talking about fear today? Why is it so important for us to talk about fear? As our children keep growing, right? Their fears will keep evolving. So you have babies or the newborn babies, the infant, the toddlers, afraid of things like loud noises, afraid of things like separation from their parents, afraid of things like strangers carrying them, basic things, right? Things like strange noises, basic things, yes. Now, when they move to the next phase of their life, maybe from like 3 to 5 years, they may start getting afraid of the dark. You see, that a lot of times, little babies may not really be afraid of darks, right? Because you're always carrying them. But by the time they progress to the young age, like between 3 and let's say 3 and 8, if they start becoming afraid of things like darkness, they start becoming um, afraid of other things. Now, some of them begin to watch some cartoons, some movies, and they start imagining things and getting afraid of maybe dreams of animals, or they just know that, oh, the lion is a dangerous thing. I don't want to see a lion. So some of these basic things, right, that we already hear our children talk about. Now, when they get to grow, the growing understanding of the real world dangers will inform their fears. So a lot of the times when they advance to like preteen age, they become afraid of some, it becomes a little bit more complex. All right. Even if preteens, some preteens may be afraid of dark and all those things, a lot of times it graduates to things like public speaking, things like not they don't want to be excluded. All right, things like embarrassment. They're afraid of a lot of those things. Some of them are afraid of trying new things. So you see that as it keeps evolving to different phases, it's the fear keeps increasing. You see why we need to talk about their fears. And a lot of times we have to ask them, right? To know, is that something you are afraid of? Is there something that makes you scared or that scares you? Or is there something that you think is so difficult to do? Sometimes our fears express itself in the inability to do some certain things. We're going to talk all about that. Okay. So thank you so much for joining me. I can see your comments. Thank you very much. All right. So teenagers, when they get to the next phase of life, right? Their teenagehood, fear begins to evolve. They start becoming afraid of failure. They start becoming afraid of rejection. They start becoming afraid of acceptance or afraid of not being accepted, right? They start becoming afraid of their future, right? It's surprising, right? But it's true that so many teenagers, even if they have not gotten to some certain stages or phases in life, they're already afraid of it. Now, why we are talking about this is so that we can intervene very early, right? When you now, it's not just about asking them, it's also observing. When you observe that your child is afraid of a particular thing or has fear for a particular thing, it is something that you need to work on urgently, all right, to make sure that they are able to overcome that fear. Because if you keep allowing it to move into the different phases, it may turn into something else altogether, right? Now, some teenagers may be afraid of of losing a loved one, especially those that have lost a loved one or someone that is close to them, even if it's not a family member. Some of our teenagers have had experiences like losing their friends, have had experiences like losing a family member. So you need to talk to them, because now, at some point in time, it will not just be about talking. You may take them for counseling, for therapy, so that they can overcome that fear. All right. If not, at every point in time, they start thinking of death, start thinking of, oh, someone might die, something might happen to someone, and all that. So fear can come from our past experiences. In most cases, fear is a built-in survival mechanism, right? Fear is a built-in survival. That's why I said fear is very natural. There is nothing wrong with it, right? It's a built-in survival mechanism that triggers us to react. Maybe most times as a result of reflex. It's like when something is about to happen, you have this fight to flight kind of experience whenever you are afraid of something. Okay, but it becomes something else when it graduates or when it extends to more complex stages. Now, even babies, even little babies have instincts, right? Fear is supposed to be like a protective purpose for signaling our body, oh, there's danger here. Yeah, there's about to be danger. It prepares us to deal with it. It prepares us to deal with danger, right? Now, the purpose of fear is to raise your awareness, not to stop your progress. That is why our teenagers need to understand that fear is supposed to help raise our awareness to certain things in our lives. It is not supposed to stop our progress, but the mistake is that fear is stopping our progress on so many levels. Fear is stopping the progress of our teenagers on so many levels. So they are not able to move on to or move past some certain things in life because of fear. Now, take a little time to think about when you were a teenager. Think about some of your fears. Now, a lot of times as teenagers, we had fears for public speaking, but because we did not help ourselves overcome that fear, we grew up that way, and a lot of us, even in our 20s, even in our 30s, there's nothing you will do that will bring us out to the stage to talk, right? A lot of times as teenagers, we had fears for fear of trying new things, fear of trying to build new career, new whatever it is, maybe start a new business or something. So at that point, we are already having that fear in our teenagehood. So it grows with us. We just grew up with it, and that is it for us. A lot of time, that is it for a lot of adults. They find it difficult to even, okay, they have ideas, they have innovations, but they find it very difficult to start because they have had that fear. Oh, how is it going to be? What will people say and all that? And they've nurtured it in some way. They have never really had the time to overcome it. They have never really, thank you so much. I can see your comment. Fear is supposed to raise our awareness and not stop our progress. Yes. Fear is supposed to raise our awareness to that thing that we are afraid of. Now, why are we talking about this? Because early identification and intervention is what we need. Now, if we don't deal with fear, fear will graduate into phobia. Phobia is a higher kind of fear. I'm going to talk about the difference between fear and phobia. Fear is short term, right? Like I said, it's natural, so it's always short term. You react to something, and your body system is reacting to it for survival skills, as a survival skill, right? But if you do nothing about it and you dwell on it several times repeatedly, it becomes phobia. That's why a lot of persons have phobia for objects, phobia for things. Some persons have phobia for flying, phobia for swimming, phobia for water. Some persons, I mean, the way phobia manifests in so many persons is scary to see. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's very scary to see. So we are trying to protect our children from some of those things that might limit them from achieving their potentials, that might limit them from that God-given potential, from getting to the height to the height of it. So that is why we're talking about it. All right. Fear is necessary for survival, right? But phobia impairs the natural functioning of our body system of our minds. Now, a lot of times when people are afraid, their fear is always proportional to whatever it is that they are afraid of, or to the potential danger. But when people have phobia for something, the phobia is not in proportion at all. Imagine someone, let me use a very simple example. Someone afraid of swimming, right? That person, the way the person reacts, like as if you were about to kill the person because the person is just at the edge of a swimming pool. So it reflects in ways that we cannot even understand. Sometimes people having phobia and be wondering, what is wrong with you? It's just this, it's just that. It's because it started from fear, it started from somewhere, but no intervention was done for that person. All right. So fear also is triggered by real danger, but phobia is caused by just perceived threats. Okay. So now, if we are not careful, phobia can also develop into other things, into so many things that can affect the mental health of our children. Okay, phobia can develop because fear is always on fear always comes with mild anxiety level, but phobia is always intense. And when phobia comes with so much intensity like that, it can graduate into anxiety disorders in teenagers, in adults. All right, it can graduate into panic disorders. You see people always panicking. Okay, just come to the auditorium, just come and say something in front of the crowd, and they are panicking, they're literally shaking. We're not saying it lightly, but if you see adults doing these things, you may feel embarrassed because you feel you have built your confidence, you have built your self-esteem to an extent, but these are issues, these are things that happen. And unfortunately, a lot of our teenagers have anxiety and panic disorders. And a lot of us have done nothing about it. What are you doing about your child's fear? What are you doing about your teenager's fear? Because when panic disorder, that intense disorder, like the person is just, I don't even know how to explain it. Have you seen someone panic for just something as simple as reading a memo or reading something in front of people? Okay, so it is as bad as that. It can come with dizziness, it can come with precipitations of the heart. You see them breathing, you see them shaking, you see them so disorganized, sweaty. These are real life issues. Okay, now I'm not just talking about it happening to our teenagers, I'm talking about it happening to like men and women in their 30s, in their 20s. So it can also come with social anxiety disorder, where people are afraid of staying around other humans. There are people like that. They're just very uncomfortable around other people. Fear can, something you think is as little as fear, can extend to so many aspects of people's life and affect them emotionally, socially. All right. Some persons are afraid of heights, some persons are afraid of animals and all that, like I mentioned. Generalized this anxiety disorder. Some persons are afraid of failure. The reason why a lot of us are not able to take on some feats is because the fear of failure has overwhelmed us and we don't even know how to start. We've not even started, we're already afraid that we will fail. It is not normal. It's a higher level of phobia. Okay, that is why we need to help our children at the early stage. We need to intervene to help them so that they do not get to that point. They do not get to that point where it becomes an issue, right? You see people, I heard a story of someone, right? An elocutionist, right? She was given a story about a man that came to her. He said he has done his first degree, second degrees, almost at the level of a professor, but he finds it very difficult to talk. So it's not something that is ordinary, that we should take lightly. That our children will do well, maybe on their own, they can read so well, pass their exams, but they cannot even fit into a workplace. They cannot fit into a normal working environment. It is strange but real. So this is what we need to talk about. This is what we need to ask them. What is a child afraid of? What is a teenager afraid of? All right. So many persons are afraid of schools, family, like I mentioned earlier, death and all that. Now, when fear extends, it can get into um, post-traumatic stress disorder, where they're having flashbacks. Now, a lot of that, just as it implies, post-traumatic stress disorder always um always arises from previous experiences, maybe experiences with accidents, experiences with physical abuse, experiences with verbal abuse. You just see people whenever they are confronted, they just start shivering, like they cannot even confront anyone, they cannot even talk to anyone about whatever it is they're angry about. Criticism is a major issue for some persons. So I'm saying this and I'm sure a lot of us will relate with it. This is why we need to intervene when it comes to our children. All right, it can extend to depression. When our teenagers become adults, maybe in their early 20s, they are not able to face their fears. They withdraw, they isolate themselves, and they become depressed in most cases. They become sad, they become hopeless. Depression is a state of hopelessness, right? Depression is a state of sadness. That is what a lot of persons, that's the position or the point they get into. So we need to address these things. We need to address it. Being aware is always key. Being aware as a parent. So if you're a parent here, I'm glad that you're gaining this awareness today. So many of us have fear of expression because of this, right? Fear of not being able to show our emotions. I feel like this is like one of the major fears of a lot of young adults. We're not able to express our emotions. We're not able to in fact, it's like we don't want to feel anything. We have fear of feeling things. And a lot of times we take it into marriage. That is why most of our marriages are having issues, because one person is afraid of giving his everything, opening up totally. It is fear, and most times it starts from somewhere. All right, most times it starts from somewhere. All right, have you heard of obsessive compulsive disorder? It begins a lot of times as a result of phobia. It begins as a result of phobia. Sometimes when I see people with that disorder, I'm wondering, okay, how did it start? That someone will be afraid of little germs and think someone can clean 100 times in a day. It's not normal. And you think it doesn't just start a lot of, in most cases. Sometimes it starts as a result of some little fears. You need to help your children identify their fears. Help your children identify their fears. If you're able to help them identify their fears, you have solved like 99% of the problem. What you need to do now is just look for a solution to that fear. Your child has fear for the problem is that a lot of us feel, okay, as they grow up, things like public speaking, as they grow up, they will grow out of it. I'm sorry to announce to you, but so many of them do not grow out of it. So many young adults have not grown out of it. So, and it's worse if they now start trying to build it on their own. Why not make life easier for them? Why not make it easier for them by trying to build on it now? Identify that fear in them. All right? Let them and help them reframe their fears, right? Reframing their fears is helping them change the way they perceive fear. And you can only do that when you have identified the particular fear or the so many numerous fears, because a lot of times teenagers have a lot of fears. All right. That is why you also need to help build self-esteem and confidence. These are things that will take a lot of time to talk on. So I'm just giving you the highlights on what you can do if you notice a certain fear. Don't just say, hey, why are you afraid of the darkness? An implementation plan, do something about it. Okay, so you have to learn strategies on how to build courage. Courage is everything. Like a child that is courageous, a child that is bold, a child that is confident, a child who has no issue with self-esteem is the one that takes on whatever fits in life. You see people going out there dreaming things. There's some persons that immediately they have ideas, immediately they have innovations, they are putting it to work. That is because they have built a certain level of esteem and they are running with that. So how are you helping your child? All right. Being aware of your fears is smart, but overcoming it is a mark of a successful person. Overcoming fear is a mark of a successful child. So please help make your child rather successful by helping them overcome that fear. So what steps would you take after this session today? All right. Everything you observe in your child, if you've not started observing it, start observing now. All right. And you as a parent, how are you modeling overcoming your fear? How have you modeled it? Or I always preach modeling. Modeling is not just about what you show. You can't just say, oh, overcome your fear, do this, but you are afraid of certain things. I think I'm going to stop there, right? I'm giving it back to you, or I'm putting it back to you, parents. Overcome your fear and watch yourself help your child overcome theirs. Thank you so much for joining me today. I can see all your comments. Thank you so much. I hope to see you again as we take on day 28 tomorrow. Bye, everyone.